Just obviously walked off the field number one, as you'd expect. I mean, it's going to be high energy, and the guys will never feel as good as they feel today. So, it's no complaint, no excuses. It's moving forward. The bar's been set with how they operate today, and we move on to the next, and that's everything. So it's what they eat, it's their treatment, it's paying attention to the details, and all the way through the rest of the day with our meetings, walkthroughs, whatever it might be. So looking forward to building on what we did today.
How the quarterbacks start?
I thought they were consistent. Met a couple explosive plays in there. A couple plays that you can just see getting on the same page with a receiver type guy. It might not be a receiver, but tight ends, running backs, just little details. So I thought they were consistent, and love the demeanor, love their just command, the way they're into it. You can see the belief that the guys have in them. We talked about response. Someone's going to win a play every down, right? So there's going to be something when you're going against each other, and you just try to make that as game-like as possible. And so, what's the response? And that's a lot of football, and the momentum, getting it on your side and keeping it on your side. And there's going to be plays that don't go your way, but what's it look like? How are you coming together? We're identifying, leaders beyond the guys that we expect to be able to stand up and when needed and take charge. And so, but as a whole team, that's what it's got to be, and right now it's kind of an offense versus defense thing, so you're trying to at the same time build the belief and confidence in each other while you're really trying to ask the one side of the ball to just kick the other side's ass, all day. So
is there anybody who's starting camp on the sidelines either for injury or discipline reasons?
No, nothing for discipline. Just guys that are working into a couple of reps. It's really nothing major. So it's more of just guys that we're trying to see. Danny Lewis, for example, would be a guy just making sure as we work into the physicality now and everything. It's been a long road for him for a couple of years. And so he's in as good a spot as he's been since really after the bowl game in 2024. And so, just trying to be careful with where he's at, making sure he can manage it. I thought he did a good job today. So there's a couple of guys just like that.
Kalen, this team isn't picked to finish as high as maybe what this program is used to. You think the guys pay attention to that? And then over the past day or so, have you felt a sense of motivation to prove people wrong?
Yeah, we are definitely aware.
Do you have an update on DJ? Obviously, it's kind of first practice out there. What's he up to?
Yeah, he did some nice things. It's good to see him out there flying around. And couple times you see what you saw from his high school highlight film, and so I'm excited to see him. And we're not in pads right now, so a lot of that is yet to be seen. But just execution. He's a got to catch the ball well. I think he's got a really good head on his shoulders from what we've seen so far, and being able to be consistent that way, learn the offense when he gets in there and in the rotation with the running backs like he was today. He did his job.
What can players show you during these early periods where there's no pads that they are ready to be counted on this season?
Yeah, I mean, communication, just over communicating. I think that shows how important it is to you to do the right thing, and also making sure your guy next to you, behind you, in front of you, that you're all on the same page. That helps with the attention to detail. Just a team that communicates is a team that is going to be a confident one down the road. And so that helps with our execution, and that's what it's about right now is executing, doing your job first, and just building that belief and trust of the guys around you that they're going to be where, they're supposed to be.
Well, how do you think they communicated today?
Yeah, I thought they did a good job. I brought that up at the end of practice with them. It's one of the reasons why it was right at the front of my mind. I could see some guys being intentional. Maybe one or two guys I asked a little bit more out of. They were doing a good job. I'm going to be great at it. And, they did it. You could see that throughout the rest of the practice. They went above and beyond and wanted to make sure that they were living up to that standard.
There were a ton of new faces in the offensive line in the spring. How have you seen them sort of catch up with the learning curve?
Yeah, I thought today was I thought it looked a lot better and cleaner than what it did at the end of spring. Again, we don't have pads on, so it's really hard to tell. But I thought that from responsibilities, and just, again, there's got to be a trust that exists. It isn't just doing your job. It's knowing that, where's that next help? Where's that help coming from? Is the double team and the footwork and, being in sync, and, you can rep a lot of those things and make sure you're on the same page through the summer. And you can tell the guys have been working at that and really being intentional that way too.
What's kind of the message that you're giving these guys as they start going?
Yeah, but just keep working. I mean, we've talked about working in silence since January, and these guys just doing their thing, not getting caught up in anything they can't control. We know what our goals are. We know what our expectations are. We've never shied away from that. We go attack the day, and the challenge for us right now is to continue to just become one. And that's been our theme here going into camp, is just uniting. It's 11 guys on offense, 11 guys on defense, special teams, but also as a whole program, just having each other's back. And so that's the challenge that we got to continue with so many guys in the program. I've been pleased with it, but we got to be great, because there's some big time moments that are going to be coming our way, being with the schedule you have, and that's going to happen in college football. So we got to be ready, be prepared, know how we're going to respond.
What do you say to guys in position battles about the opportunities given them during camp?
Well, you really, what you want is you want guys, you want the guy you're competing against to be at his best, right? That's what a great teammate does. And then you want to be at your best to, win that position, win that battle. And so, just talking to guys about not hoping the other guy fails and isn't at his best, because that doesn't help our team. And, having that, again, becoming one where what the team's success is, it's because of you being and doing everything that you can and being elite, and wanting your teammate that you're competing against to be the same.
Will Sanders full go at this point?
Mm-hmm.
What's it like having him back?
Yeah, it's good. It's good having him back, and guys that we have very few guys on the offensive line in particular that have the snaps in our program, and he's one of them. And missing the spring, you could feel that a little bit. Again, just continuity. I'm not saying execution-wise, things like that, but just another guy that knows how things go, knows the operation, knows the offense. So it was good to have him back.
There's some guys who saw kind of setting the tone energy-wise, leadership-wise in this first game.
Who?
Yeah.
Who are they? I would say, it's who you'd expect. I think we've talked a lot about, I think the guys that we took to media days, right? Bray, definitely. ZB does it. He's not as vocal, but man, he's got this presence about him and this way, and it's just a great 1-2 punch there. I think those guys on defense have really brought along, others. I mean, Dijon, the experience in the secondary, that's kind of where it starts. That swagger, that's where it starts. And then with the new guys and, joining in with the returners in the front seven, you can see more of that building. Guys that played a lot of snaps for us in the past, add in some of the transfers who we expect to be also key performers for us, that, again, I think have done a great job of meshing. Probably is one of the words I'd use, just meshing with the rest of the group offensively. Ryan, our quarterbacks, I think they've been great. And I think there's been a slow, build. I mean, I think, again, a lot of it's through the work, and because that's what we've asked. But, Jackson Lloyd, I think you'd expect him and Michael Carroll, in the room, offensive line wise. And I think Will get there too, as he gets back and in full go. So, I think there's other guys that have just, again, stuck to the taking care of business. I see Caleb working, Marshall. I think Josh, has a presence when he's on the field. He's still kind of, like I said, with the defensive line transfers, fitting into his role, and does it with his play, maybe less or more so than with his talk. Running backs kind of probably the same way. Daniel Hill's had a great offseason, I think. And some of those guys right there just going about their business, going about their work, being leaders, and it doesn't always have to mean they have to be vocal. We're going to ask that out of them, but there's a progression to it, them taking care of their job and then bringing others with them.
Can you compare Jaden James and Nick Brooks, what you saw of them over the summer, and maybe what they need to do in the competition for the right tackle battle?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just being new, it's still just about being consistent, and I think they're really doing. I think they've come a long ways in that area. This spring, I would say, you could see what the potential was. You could see what they're capable of. I think each of them came into June or the end of May when we returned. There was definitely them coming back now, knowing what it feels like, what the expectations are, and I think both of them had great summers. I mean, they had great summers, both of those two guys. And so I'm actually interested, again, we didn't have pads on, but I'm interested to see the film today, specifically hone on guys like that and see what they did, see how they executed.
Difference between an Adrian Clem run all practice, like or the O line, like what kinds of skills can you see out there? What was he kind of pushing for that?
I wasn't right next to him much today. I was kind of wandering around. Different coaches stand in different spots on the field, and so you kind of know where guys are going to be, and some of it's where the coordinators are going to be at, and the signalers, and I haven't identified and gotten next to Coach Clem a lot, but I think as far as the guys, our players, I like that they have a good. I think there's a confidence in that they're being coached well, that they're making the progression, that the work that they're doing on the side is paying off. I think they can feel that. The film, again, won't lie, and they'll be called out. I think that's what he does a great job of, but he also does it in a way where it's always teaching, it's always coaching, and he'll push them. He'll do what you'd expect the elite offensive line coaches to do when it comes to demanding and getting after them. But he's also got this way of building camaraderie, which is obviously very critical for an offensive line as they continue to build confidence. Good. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Ken.